G'day guys, it's John from theproductivegarden.com and I'm here with another update from the balcony. Now we've had some pretty weird weather here the last few weeks. We've had hottest days on record, we've had the wettest day on record, and now I think it's about the coldest day that we've had in the summer. At the moment it's about 14 degrees Celsius, which I don't know what that is in Fahrenheit, but that's like a winter's day for us. Mind you, I am in a t-shirt, so I'm not feeling the cold too much. But yeah, it's some strange weather and it's raining here, been thunderstorms all day, so I've just taken the chance while there's a bit of a break in the weather to get out here and do an update from the balcony. So let's have a look at what's happening. Alright, so we'll start at the herbs. As you can see, the oregano is doing great. It's going to flower, which is alright. You can still use those flowers in cooking. If you've got oregano and it goes to flower, just cut those tips off and chop them up and chuck them straight in your cooking. That stuff's just fine. And there's a bit of thyme here. Time's creeping through. Well, actually that's oregano, but you can see there's some thyme here creeping through, so next time I use thyme I will actually get that bit there and cut it off, and that'll sort of keep it in its spot there. The rosemary's doing well, and the parsley's doing well also. We've used a bit of the parsley. The oregano, it had gone to seed, and I've sort of let it go to seed, and when I get a dry day I will pull these seed pods off, and you can actually use them in your cooking as well. You can also save them to grow some of your own coriander at some later time. So these are just about dry. These are probably ready to take off and save the seed from them. We've got some more here that are still green. So yeah, I'll get onto that soon. What else is going on here? The tomatoes, the cherry tomatoes, they're doing alright. Got these little bloody bugs go all over them. They don't seem to do any damage, they just hang around all over them all day. And yeah, and the basil's doing well also. When I've been using them, I've been picking the buds out of them and making them branch out, and it's actually made them last pretty well. The blueberry, it's looking pretty good. It's getting new growth on it with the heat and then the rain, so that's looking pretty good also. So hopefully we get some nice blueberries off this year. It's had a pretty good sort of season for putting on growth, so hopefully that'll consolidate next year. Alright, the potatoes. What I've decided to do, it is late in the season, and I've sort of just put this in here. I did have this sitting in a tub which didn't have holes in the bottom, and with all the rain we've had it's got really saturated, so I've got something that I'm going to put in here. I'll cover that a little bit later on, but in the meantime I'm just going to have to let this drain and let that soil mix out. I've mixed some compost and alpaca poo in there as well, so it should make it nice and nutritious for what I'm planning to put in there, but I'll cover that a little bit later on. But before I put it in there, I'm going to have to let that dry. If it doesn't drain I should say, I'll probably just have to get it out and mix it with some drier potting mix just to displace some of the moisture in it, but I think it'll dry out. Like I said, I've only just put it in there. It was in a tub which didn't have holes in it, so it just collected the water. Anyway, the Roma tomato, I don't know whether the heats it's got to it or whether it's the rain, all the rain that we've had that's got to it, but it doesn't seem to be doing too well. This I think is a bit of a new leader come off the bottom, so maybe it'll get a second lease of life here. Yep, that's just come off the bottom there, so maybe it'll get a second lease of life from that. Still got a few tomatoes there that are growing, so we've got a few tomatoes to get off that yet. And its basil's actually seems to be doing better. I should just turn this around. But I had sort of turned it so that it gets a bit of shade from the afternoon sun from the tomato plant, even though with all this leaf cover up the top dying off, it's not going to get too much shade from the sun. But it just seems to have done a bit better with the pot turned that way. So that's one of those things to think about when especially when you're placing different plants in pots. Just look at where the sun goes and that sort of thing. What will prefer the sun, and other things that'll like a bit of shade, and that can be a good way to work out which way to face the pot. Alright, this little eggplant still struggling, which is sort of strange. This one has struggled, and this one here seems to have bloomed. You can see it's got a couple of flowers on it there. So I don't know, the plant's still not all that big. I don't know if it's got enough leaves to do enough photosynthesis to make some fruit. So anyway, we'll see how it goes. Alright, these capsicum here, they're getting new growth on them. They're not doing too badly. The galangal, it's going great. It just seems to be getting bigger all the time. So I'm pretty happy with how that's going. Hopefully we get heaps of galangal off that. The new ginger plant, sorry about that bad camera work then. It's growing. You can see it's getting here. It's getting new sort of leaves on it. So that's good. That's the that's the ginger that sprouted in our kitchen. A bit of ginger we had just sitting on the shelf that we were using, and it sprouted. So we decided to put it in a cup of water, and it's done really well. So hopefully it goes well. I mentioned last week that I dug up and had a look at the rhizome that the original plant came from. The rhizome was still intact. It's just that the plant itself had got some rot in it. So what I think it was is it's just dried out during the hot weather. So it's not that the rhizome wasn't good, it's just the hot weather had gotten to the shoot, and it was only pretty new when the hot weather hit, so it was just too hot for it. Alright, here we've got the Goji Berry, and what I've done on this to try and encourage it to grow out a bit, I've taken the tips, the growing tips, and I've actually picked the growing tip off, so you can see that one there. You can see where it's been cut there on the growing tip, and also this big long one as well. You can see there where I've cut it. Okay, so that's to encourage it to grow out. I might even take this great big long one and just cut that down a bit more to get it to branch out a bit and become a bit more shrubby. But yeah, so hopefully, because it's the side shoots, what I've found out, it's the side shoots that will bear the fruit rather than the like main stem. So to encourage a bit more side shooting, I picked the tips off. Alright, the asparagus is going great. It's developing heaps of fern. You can see by this here, the spears that it's getting on it aren't terribly fat at all, but this was a seedling. I don't really expect to get anything significant or anything at all off this year. This is a longer term proposition. Yeah, so I'm not at all disappointed with that. That's pretty much what I expected, and if I'd have got any spears worth harvesting, I probably would have just let them go to fern anyway so that the crown can build up, and next year we can get some nice asparagus off this. Alright, the lime, it's still a lime, so like I said, the fruit had dropped off that before, so it's not going to do much more this year. We'll be waiting for next year to get some lime off that. In the meantime, if you did have a lime and it didn't have any fruit on it, the leaf of the lime will have a lime flavour in it, so you could always chuck that in a bit of cooking if you wanted to, in a soup or a stir fry or something like that, if you wanted to add a bit of a lime taste. So that's something to think of with citrus. And if you can't figure out what type of citrus something is, just crush a bit of one of the leaves and it'll smell like what the fruit is. So a lemon tree, the leaves will smell lemony. An orange tree, they'll smell orangey. A mandarin tree, it'll smell mandarini, that sort of thing. So that's a good way and a pretty solid way of finding out what sort of citrus tree something is. Alright, these beans, they're doing pretty well. They're producing more and more beans all the time. There's a new leader come up there with some flowers on it. I think, yeah, there's a couple more beans to pick there, or not that one maybe, but yeah, that one's ready to pick. Yeah, there's a couple down there that I could probably pick, maybe not today, but in a couple of days. So it's actually doing too badly. I've never really grown bush beans before. Having seen these ones, I'm not that impressed with them, but maybe they would do better if they were in the ground rather than in the pot. Maybe they'd do better if they were in better potting soil as well. Like I've said before, the potting soil I used was the cheapest I could find at the time, because I was going to have to buy a whole heap of it, and I didn't really have any compost to add to it either. So yeah, like I said, I shouldn't really criticise it too much because it's not really being grown in the best soil, so it's done pretty well despite that. Alright, we've already gone over this eggplant here. The cucumber, one of the plants anyway, because this is one of the plants, this one still struggles a bit. This plant is going a whole lot better. All this leaf damage here, we had a hailstorm. That was Sunday or something like that, Sunday or Monday. And that's obviously done that damage. You can see here on the eggplant as well, a bit of hail damage there. But it's actually doing a lot better than what it was. It's producing female flowers. You can see the little cucumbers there. Turn it over, little cucumbers there and there. but I haven't seen any male flowers on this yet. So without any male flowers, we aren't going to get any fruit develop. So what's happening is the flowers are going through their cycle, falling off, and then the little fruit just rots back and goes to nothing. So hopefully soon it starts producing some male flowers, so we'll see what happens. Anyway, the carrots have really taken off. There's actually one here that I reckon is just about ready to pull, so we might as well pull that carrot now. So let's have a look at what this looks like. Get that stick out of the way. So these I think they're called Lady Chutney or Chutney carrots, and they're a shorter carrot rather than a long one. So there you go. There's one carrot. There's a few more that are nearly ready to pull, but that's why these are great carrots. Chutney, I'm sure that's what they're called. I'll check that. But they're great carrots because they grow a nice sort of thick carrot, but it's only short, so they grow well in tubs. Yeah, they're a good little carrot to grow for that purpose if you need to grow them in some sort of container where you can get other carrots that grow really long. So there you go. There's a bit of a carrot for dinner tonight. Chives have come back after the aphids have attacked them. They've come back pretty well, so I'm pretty happy with that. The new lettuce are doing well, so hopefully we'll be getting some lettuce off them pretty soon, and hopefully we don't get any more hot days and have the things bolt to seed again. The capsicum, like I said, like the other one, it's starting to get some new growth on it, so hopefully we get some flowers off that soon, and maybe even some fruit. We'll see how we go. And the other lettuce, they're doing pretty well also. And onto the strawberries. We actually picked a few strawberries off this the other day. They were quite delicious. Yeah, I thought these strawberries would have done a whole lot better than what they have, but again, I think it's an issue of soil and nutrition, that sort of thing. You've got to have decent soil, and you've got to have good nutrition in there for the plants to grow well. So that's definitely something I would say, that if you were going to do some sort of container gardening, then buy the best potting mix that you can afford. And if all you can afford isn't so great and you can get your hand on some compost, then definitely mix that into the potting mix to make it more nutritious for the plants. Anyway, the thing I was talking about before, I'll just put my carrot there for now. The thing I was talking about before that I'm going to add there was this chilli plant. I was at a hardware store the other day picking up some things and saw this here for $10. I thought, wow, like it's got heaps and heaps of chilies on it. I thought there's nearly $10 worth of chili there. So I'm going to plant that there because it's too late for potatoes to go in there. They're not going to really grow properly now. So I decided to stick that in there. It'll still kick on for a few months yet, and I've already got a whole heap of chilies on there. But a question I wanted to ask you guys is, seeing as though it's already had chilies on it when I bought it, do you think that's fair to add that to the harvest for the balcony garden? Is it cheating to add those to what I've been able to harvest from the garden, or do you think it's a fair call to do that? So I'm obviously going to, when I pot this up, I'm going to chop all those off so it can put energy into re-establishing itself and then hopefully kick on with flowering. But yeah, tell me what you think. Leave a comment down below. Is it fair if I add them to the harvest for the balcony garden? Alright, well that's it for this week from the balcony garden. Like I said, let me know what you think of the chili plant. Should I add it to the harvest? Anyway, that's it for me now. I'm going to get back inside because it feels like it's going to start raining down again, and I really don't feel like getting wet. Anyway, until next time, happy productive gardening. Bye.